Hello, welcome to my podcast, Empowered to Thrive. I'm so glad you joined me today. I'm your host, Powell. I'm an intuitive mentor, and I help people pleasers to find happiness, embrace courage, and experience peace of mind. But say you're not a people pleaser, and you're desperate for change and not sure how to make it happen, then I'm here to help. In this space, you're going to find motivation to live a life full of joy and resilience. We'll talk all things inner wellness. And because I'm a mom, we'll throw in some knock-knock jokes. Just kidding. We'll talk mom hacks and parenting sometimes. Whether it's your first time here or you listen week after week, I am wanting you to know, as I'm always wanting you to know, that your life is so significant. You are so valuable. And I, for one, am happy that you are alive. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And would you do me a favor? Would you go ahead and subscribe to my podcast? Give me a good rating and write a written review. Any of those three things would help me so very much, and I would appreciate it. Enjoy the episode. This is the second part of a two-part conversation. You're going to benefit if you listen to today's episode, even if you haven't heard last week's. But if you want to catch the fullness of what we were talking about, then you'll definitely want to go back and hear last week's episode and then come and listen to today's. Enjoy. When I got to the place that I was willing to hear what someone else was saying, and I realized that I wasn't convinced of my way, it changed things for me. So if I go into a conversation with Evan and I actually think what he has to say could benefit me and could help me, I listen differently, I walk through that experience differently, and I come out of it differently. So that's been my focus over the years as I've been healing more and just changing my mindsets. I've been having to literally reshape the way I look at life, the way I think, the way I interact. And that I know that brought me back to something that I wanted to touch on that Evan talked about. He said he goes into conversation almost with that idea that, this conversation may not be productive. It may not change anything to have this conversation. And that mindset, I'll call it a belief, was birthed out of his own experiences in his developmental years, throughout his childhood, his adolescence. That is insightful because we all have formed beliefs, ways of thinking, mindsets that could be limiting us. I say could be because they're not all going to be limiting us, but some may be limiting us. As you can identify what those limiting beliefs are, those ways of thinking that are so ingrained in you, but they're actually not serving you. When you can identify them and start to reconceptualize, reform the way that you think, and dive deeper into where did that belief, that way of thinking originate? And do I want to hold on to that? Do I want to carry that? Or is that something that I should reshape and find some healing for? But I want to know, Evan, how has it been for you as you've experienced a different way than was modeled to you? How has that naturally helped you change things?
Yeah, I typically have very strong opinions about almost everything. So, I walk into arguments or discussions or just conversation with that. Like a lot of times opinions are already formed, and I realize I value you a lot. So even though you don't honestly, I don't think you always articulate as strongly or as well as some people might in
Definitely.
what you believe. I realize in your heart, and I watch your life, right, that it's really beautiful. So I really want to hear it. And I think I've changed a lot from needing to convince you of something I don't know if you noticed this, but I've changed from needing to convince you of something to needing to draw out of you what you actually believe so I can hear it and understand it. And I mean, I still in there strongly, probably very strongly convey my point of view, but I'm actually really, really wanting to hear your point of view. So I spend a lot of energy asking questions and pulling it out. And probably sometimes that's frustrating because we think a lot differently. So I'm needing you to like boil it down into a different package than you normally would deliver it in, so my mind can like grab hold of it. But so when you come to the conversation, and with you, almost always conversations make a big difference as we part ways. Like there's almost like a release or relief or a feeling of I'm understood. Like those things are very normal for you after having discussion. And so I think it's still surprising for me still, which means my belief system is still in process.
Sure.
It's still reshaping itself. But it definitely is powerful for me in that I'm like, wow, that definitely had an impact. Maybe I should do it again, you know? And I feel like most of the time, if it's, no, that's not really true. I was going to say usually you initiate the difficult conversations, but I don't think that's really true. I like to go at it sometimes too.
Yeah. I definitely like to connect, so I might initiate conversations because of that, but you do too.
Yeah.
And I think what Evan was just saying is something that we can each highlight. The fact that if you've experienced something that has burned you or caused you to believe a certain way, and you think that you'll never see another way, you'll never be shown something different than what you already believe. I want to suggest that you give that another chance, because perhaps there will be a conversation you'll have with someone where they will hear your heart, where they will care about what you have to say. And if you ever sit with me, you're going to experience that for sure. But I know this isn't exclusive to me. There are many people who care about what you think, who want to hear your heart. If you never give opportunity for that to happen, you'll actually lose out on something. And so I know that what we experience throughout childhood and beyond can really hurt and devastate our hearts. And we can, in some instances, especially if you're like me, just shut down, close off, and say it's better to just survive instead of trying to live feeling. But I'm here to say that living in a place where you can feel and where you can be alive within yourself is a better way. So, Evan, what would you say to that? Because I know that your experience, I feel like both of us have kind of come to that place where we're feeling more than ever before. We're living more alive than ever before. So what would you say to that? Is it worth giving it a chance?
Oh, yeah. Like the difference between being callous and numb and cold and basically scared and closed up, as opposed to being like experiencing all the highs, the lows, the difficulties, the pain, the happiness, the exuberance. Like, yeah, I think choose life. Choose life. It's way better than being half alive or partially dead. Like, just it's a lot more I guess it's a lot more painful because it's a lot more joyful. You know, it's a lot more difficult because there's a lot higher highs and a lot lower lows when you choose to experience it all fully. And like the other option is just kind of The monotony of keeping it cool and collected.
Right. Protecting yourself from the potential of what it might be. But that means you also protect yourself from the potential of those beautiful moments, those euphoric moments.
Mm-hmm.
And the healing process, of course, it has very difficult moments, but so does life itself.
Mm-hmm.
But the euphoric highs of being able to feel fully, to be able to experience the beauty of life, you cannot touch that otherwise. You can't experience it without the healing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say run towards the healing, because living numbed out, living dissociating or in denial, shutting down your emotions might feel better, but really it's not. It's just a denial and a dissociation. So it's almost like we're lying to ourselves. Yeah, it feels better, but it doesn't. Sitting in despair, in isolation, in depression and anxiety. I mean, really? Is that better? But we can be fed the idea that, yeah, that's better. So I just want you to hear what we're both saying, that yes, it's been a painful process. And naturally, okay, life is naturally painful. If I wasn't willing to experience the pain, if you call it, of childbirth, then I might not have my child. If my kids aren't willing to experience the pain of falling down and scraping their knee when they're trying to learn how to ride their bike, then they'll never experience the fun of being able to ride their bike having learned it. So anything we're learning or relearning or experiencing in a new way or for the first time will have its painful moments. But it's also an enhanced way of living. And I can say that because Evan and I have really been in a transformative process all these years. And so neither one of us is who we were or who we're going to be, because we're in this process of transforming. So with that in mind, Ev, when you think about who you were 10 years ago, maybe when we first met, which was what, 17 years ago, and you think about who you are today. As much as there's been difficult moments in the process, what are the benefits? Why would you say, yeah, it's worth it?
I definitely feel more deeply known and connected today than those many years ago. But I feel like it just grows, it continues to grow. And I think that's like basic human desire, right? To be known and to be connected as well.
Oh yeah, infants want that bond with their mother. They want that connection. Sure, it is innately in us.
Yeah. So, I think I had a lot of frustration before about not feeling connected and not feeling known too. And it had a lot to do with all the life that I was hiding. It wasn't the people around me not being available or even reaching out, but it was the closet that I put myself in because of what I was afraid they might see, or the fear of the reactions I would get when I was seen and known. And like you were saying before, a lot of the trauma responses of just showing the best, showing what I thought people would want to see. Literally years of working through these things has taken off layers of that, and I got more to go. But today, as I look backwards, I guess I see a deep connection that I didn't have before, that I was really desiring. So a lot more joy, because I actually am grabbing hold of what my heart is longing for, of what I really want out of life. To experience the moments fully alive, fully connected, and known. And then I get the opportunity to connect with others too and see them come alive.
Yeah, it's really a different way of doing life, at least for many of us who didn't grow up in homes where that was cultivated. And this will be for another episode, because shame is something that I think is is important to talk about. But Evan mentioned something that basically he kept things hidden in a closet because of shame. Like shame would say, stay hidden. Don't let anybody see, because what if they see? What are they going to say? What are they going to do? How are they going to judge you? And I just want to say really quick here, like I said, we'll talk about shame in another episode. But one of my children today experienced that. She had done something that she felt was shameful and wanted to hide. And I realized in that exchange with her that I felt nothing negative about what she had done. I just wanted her to understand that she's safe in love, and it's okay for her to tell me whatever she needs to tell me, and we can hug and go on. For her to stay in this shame, for her to stay in that place, being shamed, actually meant she was being kept from the joy, from the peace, from the feelings of connectedness that she could otherwise have with me. And so I just want to say to anyone who knows that, you experience shame in some sort of way, and maybe it originated when you were a child and you were told you should feel shamed, that you were told you were dirty or you were wrong, or that should be kept in a closet, or that shouldn't be done, or that should be hidden or not talked about. I want you to know that it is okay to bring that up, to tell somebody who is a safe person, who's going to embrace you in love and not shame you further. I want you to know that there is nothing that can't be talked about with a person who loves you and cares about you. There's nothing off limits. There's nothing that shouldn't be discussed. We need to be able to have connection and community where we are able to talk about anything with another person who is going to help us to walk in a way that's going to be beneficial to us. If you speak with somebody and they're encouraging you to continue in a way that your inner knowing, your gut says, no, that's not going to help me out, then that's not going to be beneficial. But bringing things up usually creates a sense of relief. Like Evan said, yes, I do feel better as I've had conversation. I am a verbal processor, but aside from that, it creates a connection. I feel known. I feel no longer so isolated. I feel supported. I have somebody that wants to hear my heart or heard my heart, who cares about what I have to say, who's in it with me. That makes a difference. So we all have that opportunity. If you don't have anybody in your life where you feel you have that opportunity with, then reach out to me, because I for sure want you to know that you don't need to go through it alone. So we're going to wrap up here. But before we do, is there anything, Evan, that you just feel like, you want to say?
I don't know. Every time I hear you talk, it reminds me of things. But I feel like another piece of the hiding is also fear. Slightly different than the shame.
Yeah.
In that I don't know what you're going to do when you find out.
Sure.
So are you going to punish me? Are you going to reject me?
Right. Do
you not want to be around me anymore? Do I have to do some kind of penance to get your approval again?
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely shame shows up a lot in my life. And I think fear of consequences or punishment is pretty strong there too. I don't know how what I do is going to affect you yet. So I try to control the outcome when I think it's going to be negative.
Right.
But okay, so to circle back around, I think I, in case anybody was wondering, really enjoy being married to you. And I think even the times that I don't enjoy it, I'm really happy that you're who you are in my life, not just a friend, not just, I definitely feel like I got the best.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I was saying to him this morning, he's making breakfast, and I said, as much as we have so much of our unresolved trauma still, and we came into the relationship with lots more of it, there is such a value in who Evan is. There is something that really is supreme, and I recognize that I have a really amazing man to do life with. And I'm grateful. And it's true, marriage isn't easy, but the payoffs. So I'm not saying this to encourage anyone in an abusive relationship or in a relationship that is toxic that you should get out of. I'm not encouraging you to stay.
because there's some perks to the relationship. I'm just simply saying it isn't easy all the time, but there are also so many beautiful things so many things I gain from our relationship, and so much beauty being able to do life together with Evan, with another person who wants to be in my life, who wants to be hearing the things that excite me, the things that depress me, who isn't just a roommate, but is somebody very involved in my everyday living. And I don't know, as we're going here to wrap it up, I realize, wow, there's so much more we could talk about, because there are many things like codependency that I've had to work out of actively in my relationship with Evan. So we'll be back on with more at a later time. But in closing, I just want to encourage each of you to maybe go back and listen to this episode and pull one thing from it that really was highlighted to you, that stood out to you, that you say, you know what, whether I'm married or not, doesn't matter. There's so much we talked about that's relevant to living, to relating in any relationship. So take one thing and start to walk it out, whatever that looks like, whatever that means. And I just want to encourage you to keep hope alive, that no matter what your relationships have been like, marriage or otherwise, no matter what your childhood was like, keep hope alive. That better days are available to you, that there is another way. And it doesn't always have to feel so difficult and so lonely as it may have been.
Here we are. We've made it to the end. What'd you think about what you heard today? Is there something you heard that you know you need to take action on? I'm one of those people who loves to not just sit and hear something, but to sit and hear and then go ahead and start implementing, taking action on what I hear, what was stirred up in me. And I encourage you to do the same. If you enjoyed today's episode, or perhaps you heard an episode in the past that really stuck with you, would you go ahead and share that with some of your friends and your family? It would mean so much to me. And also, if you want to connect with me, remember, you can always find me throughout the week on Instagram. I'm Kareen_ChangeRadically. Or you can email me anytime, Kareen@ChangeRadically.com. I'd love to be in touch. And if there's any way that I can help you, please seek me out. Until we speak again next week, I hope that you will remember, in the moments that are loud and busy, and in the moments that are quiet and still, that who you are is super important. You are valuable, and I am so glad that you're alive.